Tonight on the Finish Line, has Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa, have they made the Miami Dolphins no longer just a destination, but a team NFL players want to come play for and be a part of? Has the culture shifted in Miami? Plus, we'll talk about how the Dallas Cowboys, man, they may have made the Miami Dolphins look smarter than we all thought in the draft. And if the Dolphins need depth at cornerback and the market isn't what he thought it would be, should there be a reunion between Xavien Howard and the Miami Dolphins? We got a bunch to talk about. Do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again. Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right, wait, 80, wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached a great offensive lineman in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. So welcome you all to the Finish Line. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, the legendary Richmond Webb, and the triple OG coming from an estate unknown, Mr. Ballgame. What's good with all y'all? How y'all feeling, gentlemen? I mean, we haven't had a chance to connect since the Miami Dolphins added Odell Beckham Jr. and the excitement kind of rose in this fan base. How are you feeling, Richmond? Muted. He's a muted.
I always mute before you start your show, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
Man, I'm always excited when you start adding pieces like this, during the off season. I think we know what OBJ brings to the table. I think the thing that's kind of hampered him lately is just being healthy. So if you get that guy healthy for 17 games, along with Waddle and Tyreek and the other weapons we have out on the field, I mean, that's serious concern for defenses, defensive coordinators, this and that. And I hadn't even thrown in the like Wizard or Devon Achane, this, and I'm just talking about the receivers. So it's just another added weapon that definitely can create mismatches in the slot. You got the two guys on the outside. It's almost going to be probably impossible to double. It's like you just got to pick your poison. And I'm definitely excited. So I didn't put work out because I know he had strong interest from several teams, this and that, but to actually land that and bring him, to Miami and add to what we're trying to get done, I'm definitely excited. So I thought it was a great move, and I think the fan base should be excited as well.
Where you at, ball game?
All right. Well, I was hoping Justin Simmons would have been first before Odell, to be honest with you. But I don't have an issue with it. I think as long as Odell can prove to stay healthy, I think he's a very good third piece to the offensive wide receiver firepower in the room. Plus what he brings in regards to experience, having been a part of the Rams run to the Super Bowl and things of that nature, just another layer of experience that you can add and mix in to help these guys when they get into the tough spots. I think for me, it feels like they are similar to the Avengers to some degree, and I know why there's hate in the NFL and people are talking down against it and that type of stuff, because Miami pretty much setting themselves up to be the team to beat, and it's just one more added piece that people got to really try to scheme up and figure out. As long as he stay healthy, Odell is still very much a threat to be reckoned with. And when you add that in with Tyreek and Waller, man, it just gives Mike so much flexibility to do so many different things. And Jonnu can be a game changer for you too. So it's definitely shaping up to be one hell of a situation, and one hell of an ensemble they got built over in the offense. So like I said, I don't have any issues with it at all, to be honest with you. I'm just enjoying the ride right now.
I know you said you'd rather Justin Simmons have been the first move, but I really think this came down to you didn't have to move any money, and you could fit OBJ under the cap where X's money even cleared up on June 1st, right? I mean,
Wow.
Were you guys as surprised as I was with what he was? Not only was he willing to accept a backseat role, a third role, but were you guys surprised at the money he was willing to accept that came with that third role? Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I think for me, right, Odell is at a space in his relationship where being realistic with himself is probably the strongest thing that he brings to the negotiation table. And him having, him knowing without a shadow, without that Waddle and Reek are going to be, the lion's share of the focus, that gives him an opportunity to reestablish himself as a viable option in the offense and not have to worry about the heavy lifting. I think, if he had gone pretty much anywhere else, people are going to probably looking for him to be either the one or the two, and here he doesn't have to worry about that. He can assimilate at his own pace and add what he needs to add and help out and do those things without having to worry about the burdens of the leadership piece, other than just from an experience standpoint and the money. I mean, hell, I think he made a lot of money over his career. So I think, sometimes guys get to places in their careers where it's just about being a part of something bigger than themselves. And then maybe he's just adulted up now to realize that and say, you know what, if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'll get the money. I'll get the most of the contract anyway. So, right. And hell, he might just needed a shot. A lot of people can always pump fake and say they want to sign him, but maybe nobody had an offer on the table that it actually made any sense. And the Dolphins was the only real one that was saying, come on, man, come on, be a part of what we got going on here. And, you can make up the 8.5. We'll start you at 3.5, but you can make up the 8.5. Just come in and contribute. So I think it's smart business, to be honest with you, especially at this juncture in his career.
What do you think, Richmond?
Yeah, I agree with Ballgame. I think he's a savvy veteran. Like you said, he doesn't have that pressure having to be number one or number two. Also, I'm sure I don't know how close him and Jalen Ramsey is, but to have a former teammate to say, man, how is it down there, this and that? Because I think it was maybe a couple months ago reason, but you brought out how the Miami Dolphins one of the best workplaces as far as for family and all that. So that could have played a part, but when you can validate that with somebody, like, hey, man, is it really okay down here, this and that?
Yeah.
I think when you look at the Dolphins on paper, and like Ballgame said, you got Waddle and you got Tyreek, it's just you're like, man, this is easy. I can eat and I don't have that much pressure. And then the way Tua throws the ball and stuff like that, he, even if you don't get all 8, he could make a considerable amount of money just with the incentives because of the way the offense is designed and this and that. And I think it's definitely wide receiver friendly. So it checked the boxes for him. And I think the last good point, just copying off Ballgame, but he said, how many of those other offers are truly real? You hear the speculation, this and that, but until somebody says, okay, this is what we're willing to do, we can get it done this way, you just really know it. I think he looked at it and said, this is a good franchise, good place to be, great weather. I love Miami already. They're like they're headed in the right direction. And yeah, I'm on board with it. So I'm gonna sign here.
So you guys have both alluded to the other offers and such. So let's get into the first topic here. And I'm going to play a clip here and we'll break it down. And it kind of, this is all a segue into one of the things I wanted to talk about here. So this is Ian Rappaport talking about the situation. I'll play this clip and then we'll talk.
There are just some signings that just make sense. Like with Derrick Henry signed with the Ravens in free agency, everyone was like, yeah, of course he is. This was an of course too, because if there's one thing the Miami Dolphins like, it's speed. It is all over the roster, from Waddle and Tyreek, even Jonnu Smith, who they brought in, all the running backs who basically can fly, and they reinvested in the draft. That's one thing they clearly were looking for, someone who can catch a short little slant and take it all the way, as we've seen Beckham done countless times, as you saw on those highlights. That is really why this makes sense for the Miami Dolphins. Just gives them another game breaker. And for Odell Beckham Jr., who took a one-year deal, $3 million base, worth more than up to $8 million, he actually turned down more money elsewhere to be in Miami. This is always where he wanted to be, in this offense, in this city. It makes perfect sense for all sides.
Okay, so you guys have both said, well, we know who two of the teams are. Two of the teams are the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. And if you remember what the day we signed Odell Beckham Jr., what happened a few hours before that? The Buffalo Bills announced the Chase Claypool signing. So they had clearly been told, no, it ain't happening. We're pivoting. Now, when you dig deeper into this and you find out more, you see just how big of a role Mike McDaniel played in this. He was constantly on the phone with OBJ. He built a relationship with OBJ during this process. Let's start with you, Richmond. You played there, especially during an era where Marino was there. Has Mike McDaniel made the Miami Dolphins attractive for NFL players through free agency, through the draft process? We heard how big Patrick Paul was on being here after he talked to Butch Barry and Mike McDaniel. We heard Chop Robinson kind of call his shot. He wanted to come here. Has it become more than a destination of its South Beach? The weather's nice and it's a place where you want to live most of the year. To, yeah, you brought up what the NFLPA statistics said about us being one of the best facilities and best run franchises for players and their families. But now is the on-field product and what Mike McDaniel has brought to this team. Has this shifted the culture and made the Miami Dolphins an attractive landing spot for NFL players?
It's definitely shifted. I can remember a few years back, maybe a few years back, Miami really couldn't get any top free agents to come and visit, and they had issues signing top agents. I think Mike McDaniel has played a huge part in that. I think it's the relationship he has with his players. He's definitely a player's coach. He's definitely not your typical head coach that you used to seeing, or at least what I used to see. But it's all positive energy. Probably one of the smartest guys in the NFL, offensive minded wise. I think, but he just is different, and I think you can trust what he said. I believe he's up front, and I believe he's true. And even when the media tries to attack certain players, whatever, he kind of stands up for his players and stuff like that. So he's a little bit unorthodox, especially what you're normally used to seeing. But I think when players see him, they're like, "No, man, you need to come here, this and that." And players in the NFL talk. And like you said, the thing that caught me in that conversation, that report or whatever, was that, he wanted to be in Miami. He likes Miami, it's a city. And two of the teams that was for him was Kansas City and Buffalo. And he just left the Ravens, which is another cold city. He played New York, starting out his deal. I think he loves warm weather. You know, he was out at the Rams and this and that. So he loves the palm trees and stuff like that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I love them too. But like you said, Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul, when you see guys as excited, and then when you hear a head coach normally forming a relationship with a player, like, and that was almost unheard of. I mean, they'll have a relationship, but eventually, you know, at one point in time, you might have to make a decision to say, we're going to have to go in a different direction. And that could just blur the lines or whatever. So I think that's why coaches, they'll be cool with you, but it's kind of more of a business relationship. And I think he's found a way to do it to where you can still have that business relationship, but it's a totally different relationship. And I think that's why the players love him, the players gravitate to him and respect him. So whatever formula he came up with is working for him, and it's definitely the organization is benefiting from, because we're getting, like you said, we're getting top free agents that typically, I know not long ago, that wouldn't even consider him in Miami. So whatever he's doing, he needs to keep doing it.
Paulie King 305 says, I'm just shocked he picked Mike and Tua over Andy and Mahomes. And I mean, if you go by that, he picked them over McDermott and Allen. And Ballgame, the Chiefs are coming off back-to-back Super Bowls. You know, Tua threw the ball 560 times last year. 275 of those went to Waddle or Tyreek. So there's a share to go around here. But with everything going on with Rashee Rice, especially now that now there might be assault charges coming from a nightclub incident, there was a opportunity at a bigger target share potentially, and to a team coming off back-to-back Super Bowls, and he still chose Miami. Where are you sitting at with this? Does it feel like Mike McDaniel and even Tua Tagovailoa have made this an attractive destination?
Right. To be honest with you, I think it's a culmination of a couple different things. I think that the success that Mike has and his ability to be as open and honest and be his genuine self is the freedom that comes along with the relationship he's formed with the guys above him, with Greer and Mr. Ross. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they didn't trust him and they didn't believe in him, and he wouldn't be able to move the way he's moving. And I think that, you know, what he's created is an environment where players are actually valued and their opinions are valued, and at the same time, they don't have to be anything other than just who they are, and sometimes that's good enough. You know what we expect of you. We're going to demand excellence because you should as well. And if you fall short, it's okay, but we're going to keep coaching you, right? Because the coaching staff is a part of that process too. Like, we got one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL as well now. So I think it's a combination of all things. Mike just happens to be the face out front that's willing to relate on a day-to-day basis with these guys. And at the end of the day, a lot of them are young, right? They're still young enough to have guys be able to make impressions on them. And the last thing anybody wants to do in a game where, or in a job where your life could potentially be on the line every play, is have someone that doesn't really care about you, the person. He's made himself to be what I consider to be a player coach on a different level, because he's intricately involved in who these guys are and building them. And, you know what I'm saying, he's been transparent about his struggles in life, and everybody has them. Like, so they see him as more than just a coach. He's their friend as well. But the difference is there's a respect level there that they don't want to disappoint him. They don't want to let him down, and which means that they don't want to let Greer down, which means they don't want to let Ross down. All these things happen, but I think they all work so great together that that's what's making Miami the true, you know what I'm saying, the desired location. And the fact that we do have the immaculate weather. Because if I'm Odell at his age with the injuries that I had, I already know as soon as the weather changed, man, them aches are gonna be significant. You feel me? But down there in Miami, you don't have to worry about that quite as much. You know what I'm saying? You can get a little bit more playing time out of the body in the 17 games. You know, in the 17 games that we were required to play, if I ain't got to be out there in 35, 25, 20, 15-degree weather when it's 65, 70 down, you know what I'm saying, down in Miami. That's a little different, you know, and he ain't no spring chicken either. So, and, you know, and the truth being told, who want to go join the Chiefs? You want to go say, hey, I helped win something somewhere else. The Chiefs already figured out how to get back there. You know what I'm saying? He can write his name in the books and be a part of something great that Miami's doing. I mean, all these guys, like I said, they got egos at the end of the day. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be somewhere where you feel like I know people and they're talking high about the place that they're at. So, why not? Let me go. I can be a part of that too, and I can help them. So,
moving on here, one question that's been, we've talked about safety, right? And how this team has a need at safety for sure. Another thing people are pointing to is that they think the Dolphins have a need for another, not only veteran on the defensive front. Go check out Patreon or the community tab if you're a channel member. I had an update yesterday talking about a trade rumor that you guys are going to want to check out. But anyways, I digress. One of the positions people talk about is, okay, do we need another cornerback in this room? Right now, you got Kendall Fuller, Nick Needham, Cam Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Kader Kohu, Siran Neal, Nathan Bonner. Now, his number has been given away, so I don't know how much of a realistic possibility this is. And I'll start with you, Ballgame. The market's clearly not thriving for him right now. If he was willing to play ball on like a $4 or $5 million 1 year deal, would you bring back X?
But to be honest with you, I think once a player has played, as long as he's played for somebody, you have to kind of take into consideration giving them the opportunity to go see what's out there. I think the game that he's played in terms of feeling like maybe the market was going to be a little bit more favorable for him was that he stayed too long. Has he done that maybe 2-3 seasons ago, he might have had a better shot at getting on somewhere. Right now, at this point, you're the old guy amongst the new regime of guys that really and truthfully are they're playing great. They're playing great as well, and unfortunately, you don't command the paydays that you just ain't nobody gonna pay you what you want. So, if he was willing, he's always gonna be a fan favorite for me, man. I love Xavien Howard. I just think that sometimes guys got to be really, really smart about how they move, and you can't just be upset that they brought. Like, I know he might not say it publicly, but he was probably upset that they brought Jalen in. You feel me? But you get long in the tooth. You had the injuries that proved you were slowing down. Saying if nothing else, they're gonna bring him in. You can't, like I said, you can't ever have enough experience, but make him earn the spot though between him and Fuller. Obviously, we know Jalen is number one by default just because he's still the best corner in the game. But make him earn it, though. You know what I mean? And at this point now, that'll test to see exactly whether or not he truly has the heart to be out there doing it week in and week out. But that's I'm only going to give him that shot based off the fact of who he was for us when he was with us. You know what I'm saying? I actually even wipe my memory of the fact that he was trying to bend us over the barrel. No diddy. With that contract that he wanted, you feel me? But because I don't want to hold no grudges, because I just want this team to be the best version of themselves. But I wouldn't be against it. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of young guys on this team that can learn something from a savvy veteran. So, and it doesn't always have to be Jalen feeding into them. So if you got two guys, or even Kendall Fuller going to add his own, because his efficiency at the boundary corner
doesn't Kendall Fuller have a leg up because of his ability to play in the slot over
the slot too?
X's?
Yep. You're right.
Like, definitely. He'd have to be willing to accept a OBJ type of style where you're wide receiver 3, you're CB3 at best, and you're making like at least half of what you're making last year, which is what OBJ is basically at if he hits the incentives. If he doesn't hit the incentives, he drops from being guaranteed like, what was that, like 14, 15 million to like only making 3 million this year.
Hey, it's business. It's not personal.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know. It sucks because I wish that option was on the table, but I feel like that ship sailed for him, right? Like, I would listen if he was willing to play for 3 or 4 million, bring him back. Where are you at with that, Richmond?
Yeah, I think like anytime you're a veteran, and I think Ballgame said it was 2 or 3 years ago, but he's dealt with injuries. He dealt with groin, and I think he had the foot injury. So every NFL team knows that. Every team knows about the knee and all that. So they know they know his medical history and get that before they sign any player. So they're gonna say what's realistic, how many more seasons can we get out of a guy like this? So I think that's why some of the interest has definitely been down. But I think after June 1st, he'll get some interest, but it's going to definitely be at a lower salary. I don't think he's going to get the numbers that he thought he was going to command, after the Dolphins released him. And that's just normal. You sign after June 1st or whatever, typically most of the money has already been spent. And so I think if the Dolphins offer that, I think he would definitely consider it. I don't know how many others he's talked to, if he'll probably get some other offers, but if he does, I think they'll probably be pretty close or in line with what the Dolphins offer, which is probably a lower salary, but incentive based to where, like you said, he probably can earn up to $7-8 million with incentives and this and that. And that's one of those situations where you say, okay, well, I know why they're doing it. I know I'm getting older, but I'm willing to bet on myself. If anything, I can go back to Miami. I probably still got my house here. I don't have to worry about relocating this and that. I can go back and play there. So, or he can take it personal and go somewhere else. But I don't know if they'll be offered to him. But I think now, like you said, if you hadn't heard much noise or much interest or much information on what's going on with Xavien like that, I think he will definitely consider it because, $3 or $4 million base is better than zero. So you just keep adding to the kitty, and you're still doing something that you love to do. So, and with the upside of the team, it just makes sense. I would definitely consider it.
Sticking with the defense, I wanted to ask you guys this because I was actually thinking about this because I read what David Long said about Jordan Brooks, right? And he described Brooks as, fast and physical. He hits hard just like me. I think we play well off each other. We haven't been out there yet with pads 11-11, but as far as our play style, he's calm and instinctive. Some similarities to me, right? When you look at Jordan Brooks, when you look at them adding Anthony Walker Jr., right? When you look at David Long already in the building, when you include the other outside linebackers in Phillips, Chubb, as well as Chop and such. I'll start with you, Ballgame, again. Is this the best linebacking core we've had since 2007 when we had Zach Thomas, Channing Crowder, and Joey Porter? Like, is that where we're at? Because, Kiko never really had a great partner with him, right? We're always whiffing on getting the partner with him. Is this the best linebacking group we've had in like 16 years?
Yeah, it's hard not to argue that point, but I think they definitely be. I'd say the second best group because obviously Zach was phenomenal, and I don't think anybody on the roster can do for the Dolphins what he did. But Brooks, man, I don't know if people never really went through the process of watching who he was prior to that injury, but that dude is the reason Bobby Wagner lost his job. And that's saying a lot because Bobby Wagner is going to definitely be, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Famer. And Jordan Brooks came in and basically made Seattle feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, we can go ahead and let you get up out of here. We got a dog, replace you. The other kid, Walker, always been, I think, a hard-nosed stud, lunch pail guy, bring his, saying, gonna give you everything. His guy, not much of a speedster, but he plays with really good technique, knows how to shed blocks, has a nose for finding the running back, those type of things. We know that David Long does that well already. And then with the edges that we have, right? You go from Chubb all the way down to the new kids that we have. Yeah, they're pretty deep, bro, with a lot of versatility and flexibility. I'm envious of Weaver right now because, like I said, Brooks does so many things so well that you could pair him off inside with just about any of those guys. And, hey, you can even put him if you want into a package, breaking him off the edge. He has a little bit of pass rush to him too. And you're not going to lose anything. So, this is definitely, I think, in terms of athleticism and potential, definitely the best second best group that we've had that I've seen in quite some time.
Well, let me get your thoughts, Richmond, because I mean, you're out there with Brian Cox. Now, we still got to see these guys in action, but if we're just going off the talent here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about an absolutely loaded team. Well, you were on the team when John Offerdale was still there too, right? So you've seen some good linebackers in aqua and orange. You look at the interior, how it's been built. You look at the guys in the edge, the outside linebacker room. Is this one of the more impressive ones since basically going back 2007 with Channing Tindall, Joey Porter, and of course, Zach Thomas?
Yeah. The things is, I listen to you two guys and it's easy for me to see on field. I think the last couple of years was that not so much the outside pass rushers, but the interior guys is where we always talked about on the show that they need, upgrade. I mean, I like Baker and this and that, but I think the guys they brought in with Brooks and Walker, and then like Ballgame said, you got Chubb, you got Chop Robinson, you got Jalen Phillips. I mean, this is a very, very talented group. I know the three outside of them first round picks, and to see all that come together, and then when you have a guy like Jordan, and actually, like Ballgame said, I didn't know you could move him out. He has some pass rush ability. I mean, you can really throw some defensive fronts to where it can be really confusing for who to identify as for how you want to block, how you want to treat them, this and that. And, you might even see Jalen Phillips and blitz packages on nickels. You can move him or Chubb behind the line and still blitz them, like a defensive end. So, I mean, you can get really creative when you have this much talent at the position. And I think we always felt good about the secondary and then the defensive line, but the linebacker group was the one that, we'd always talk about needs to be upgraded. But with these guys that Weaver has brought in this year, I think it's going to really take it to the next level. And, he's going to be able to put his imprint on his defense. And I think the fans are going to be happy. And I think the players are going to be happy. And I think you're going to put them in situations to where they can be successful and win and make some plays and be disruptive and, cause turnovers and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how he dials all this in. But, yeah, I'm looking forward. I think it's probably been a long time since we had this much talent and depth at the linebacker position inside and outside.
Let me ask you this, Ballgame in Richmond. Ballgame loves throwing his timelines out. Last year took about 6-7 weeks for this defense to start gelling and looking like it's for real. Do you think it takes that long this year? You're muted, Ballgame.
I give them no. I think the difference is with Fangio that defense having to being a lot of match coverage and things of that nature. That takes a lot of trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got guys around each other that were in different spots doing different things. That's what takes a little bit of knowing where a guy's going to be, how he's going to play this type of thing, and then remembering that so you can incorporate it into your game. I think what Weaver is, the enthusiasm through the first 6 weeks is going to carry them a lot further than anything else. Most of these guys are fundamentally sound. When you think about who they are as players, they've all had extensive backgrounds playing different roles inside of the other defenses that they come from, and they haven't been just pigeonholed to just one job. So their versatilities, right? The only thing that they're going to really have to probably digest a lot more, which they're probably doing right now because you already got the playbooks to some degree, is the terminology. It's just like the offense, but the offense is going to be a little bit ahead of them, obviously, because they've now been on the third year of it. Defensively, I think when it comes down to it, they're going to be a little bit faster in their progression to being able to gel a lot sooner, just because of the fact that these are extremely high IQ guys. Not like our guys weren't last year, but Weaver is going to. It's hard. It's not really hard to explain. No, I just think he brought the right. They brought the right type of guys in, knowing full well what their capabilities were, being able to learn on the fly and being able to put out there in the first couple of weeks a defensive game plan that's going to be able to be effective and efficient, and at the same time create some problems for teams. And then he can dive deeper into the playbook. But you got veterans, man. A lot of these guys are veterans that have really played at high level. So I think the first 6 weeks is going to be pretty interesting. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Ain't going to shock a lot of teams early with the versatility, because he's young, so he's new to the position, so he's going to want to prove some things as well. But he's got the players to be able to support him in that venture. As long as he doesn't get too far ahead of himself and get too pigeonholed into doing one thing too much, then we'll be fine. Because I don't want to see cover zero every darn play. So.
What do you think, Richmond? How long do you think that defensive unit will take to get on track? And do you think they'll miss any steps compared to last year?
I think the biggest difference is, I think Fangio's defense, from what I understand, is maybe a little bit more complicated, and Ballgame knows more about that. But it would take players a little bit longer to pick it up. So I think not saying his defense is elementary, but I think it's just not as complicated as Fangio. So I don't think it will take as long. And typically, defense normally, once they normally a little ahead of, by the time training camp stuff, they always seem like they're normally a little bit ahead of the offense before we really get going and stuff like that. So bringing in those interior linebackers, like we did, and once those guys get it, I think the coverages or the cover, I don't think we have any issues in the secondary, and he'll get those D linemen lined up, this and that. And, if you got interior back that know the defense and can make the calls and knowing how to shift and change and stuff like that, it should go a lot smoother, and they should pick it up a lot quicker. So I don't think it'll take as long as it did last year. And so it should be a much faster process. That's what I'm thinking.
You rarely see defensive guys vying for offensive guys that get paid. They usually look out for their own brethren. But I don't know if you guys saw this. Jalen Ramsey went golfing with Tua, and he posted the scorecard. And look at what was interesting here. He posted the scorecard. Look at the scorecard right there. If you look at
Paid Tua.
He wrote that into the scorecard. Now, speaking of, Omar Kelly came out with this article. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Now, this is kind of, he spoke with an agent and they laid out a contract that could be beneficial for both. So let me read this to you guys. Tua Tagovailoa hasn't entered the elite quarterback stratosphere, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't be compensated like his peers. Tagovailoa owns a 32-19 record as the Miami Dolphins starter for the past 4 seasons, where he has led Miami to 4 winning seasons in a row. During the last 2, which coincides with him running Coach McDaniel's offense and using Tyreek Hill as the Dolphins' featured weapon, Tagovailoa has led or been near the top in virtually every quarterback category of significance to this point. The 26-year-old could potentially serve as one of the faces of the NFL if he continues on the trajectory, especially if he starts winning games in the postseason. General Manager Chris Greer claims Miami intends to lock Tagovailoa up to a long-term contract, but a deal hasn't gotten done yet, likely because both sides can't agree on terms. Allow me to propose a contract created by a trusted NFL agent that should work for both sides because it fully guarantees the quarterback $181 million during the next 4 years and makes his cap hit manageable for the next 3 seasons, giving Miami an opportunity to acquire and keep decent talent and hopefully a competitive team around him. So here's the proposal. The contract would be a 6-year extension worth $324 million that adds terms for 25 to 2030 that gets put on top of the current 5th-year option salary, which guarantees Tagovailoa $23.2 million for 2024. The proposed extension would feature a $50 million signing bonus, which is divided by 5. How you count prorated portion for the first 5 years of deals, puts a signing bonus cap charge of about $10 million per year. The new fake money average is about $50.1 million a season, but the real money payout would be about $46.3 when the 5th-year option is factored in. And if Miami exits out of the deal earlier for whatever reason, it's possible the Dolphins could end up paying Tagovailoa less $42.3 million a season in the final year of 2023 isn't exercised. So the 2024 salary, base salary of $5 million in 2024, a cap of $15 million. Of course, the Dolphins could offer less signing bonus, say $40 million signing bonus, which prorates out to $8 million per year. But why haggle? Tagovailoa and his camp would be foolish to turn down being paid $55 million this season instead of $23.2 million, since it's more than twice his salary. 2025 base salary of $2 million in 2025 and an option bonus of $35 million. Why an option bonus? Because it's spread out through 5 years from 2025 to 2029. The 2025 cap number is $19 million. The two-year real average per year is $46 million. In 2026, the base salary of $2 million in 2026 and an option bonus of $45 million. The 2026 cap number is $29 million. The 3-year cash flow is about $139 million. So the annual average is about $46.3 million over the first 3 years. 2027, a base salary of $2 million in 2027, an option bonus of $40 million. Right? The option bonus is spread out over 4 years, 2027 to 2030, resulting in a $10 million per cap charge prorated. So the 2027 cap number would be about $38 million. The 4-year cash flow is about $181 million. So the annual average is now $45.25 million. So the 3-year new money average is about $52.6 million. So the wiggle room they have it built in would begin in 2028. Base salary of $33 million in 2028, cap number of $69 million. This is a season where they can rework the deal to lower Tagovailoa's cap number by whatever amount they choose. For example, convert $30 million of Tagovailoa's salary into a signing bonus, which would make a $10 million cap hit, push $20 million into the last 2 years at $10 million per year in 2029 and 2030, with a net result in a new cap number for 2028 being $49 million. So now the 5-year cash flow is $214 million, and the 5-year real API is $42.8 million. And then 2029 would be an option year for the Dolphins if they hadn't restructured him or whatever. The exit door would be 2030. That point, his salary would be about $70 million, and there's little chance he would see that. So they would move off of him. And if they did move off of him in the 7th year, right, that would mean they paid him about $254 million through the first 6 seasons, which equates to about $42.3 million a year. So it's really showing how it's all about how you structure the deal. And the agent even said neither party can walk away feeling this deal is unfair. To his people, would be crazy to not take the guaranteed money with his injury history, and the Dolphins will be showing the workforce that if you bust your behind, we'll do right by you, which they haven't always done, which is a little bit of a shot over Christian Wilkins. So let's start with you, Richmond. This would put him in the stratosphere of like Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, and Kirk Cousins, right? But it also provides him a little bit of, the illusion that his contract is putting him in here in the stratosphere of Burrow and Herbert and Hurts, based off the accelerators and everything like that. So, what are your thoughts on a 6-year extension worth about $324 million that, basically averages out when you break it all down, averages out to about $46.3 million per year. But it looks like about $50.1 million per year. What would be your thoughts on something like that, especially with the cap expected to go up at minimum $30 million a year over the next 3 years? So you're looking at least a $90 million cap raise over the next 3 years. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it sounds good. I think the most important thing to me in that article was getting to a sign this year where you can average out that last year into his new contract, which brings his average down. And I think you said somewhere around 40. If they could get him around $45 million a year average, it would be a perfect scenario. And I mean, I don't know all of it, but that was pretty creative the way they was doing something in that contract. But it was what I did like about it, it was friendly to the organization, and it was friendly to Tua and his camp. And at the point, I know he's made money, but this gives you an opportunity to really put back some money and secure your future in the event that you get hurt. I mean, and I agree with him. If you're supposed to make 23 and you have an opportunity to take home 50, 55 next year, this coming season, I mean, that's something you got to really look at and say, man, if something happens, I got this. But if you play under the 23 and something happens, is the risk versus the reward for a few more $1 million. So that's what you got to kind of step back and look and let, calmer minds prevail and say, okay, let's keep it business. I don't think it's a slap in the face contract to where he's like, man, these people are no. It's realistic. And I don't know who the agent is, but that sounded pretty good to me. Like you say, the number says 50, but it's actually around 46. But it gives you opportunity to put back guaranteed money now, because most contracts are not guaranteed in the NFL. So you need that signing bonus thing to help secure your future, this and that. So it would be something I would definitely look at mighty hard and say, yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Well, what do you say?
I think if he's got capable representation and they're realistically looking at the way things are going to be structured, I don't think the Miami Dolphins have ever said that they don't want Tua to be their guy, but I don't think it's ever going to be good in terms of future negotiations and working out the harmony between you if you're looking to beat the organization that took a chance on you over the head as well. I'm always about deals that are favorable for the organization and for the player to get their money. $324 million. $342 million. Was it 224 or 342?
What the
24.
money?
Well, you know what? Either way,
342.
Tua making anywhere between 46, anything over $45 million. He making anything over $45 million. NFL quarterback. I think you winning. So it'd be crazy to not accept that in terms of the fact that you're gonna need help. The team can't give you, they can't put a number on you and then not be able to continue to put quality talent around you to continue any success that you're gonna have. Otherwise, you're gonna be sitting around looking crazy when you're making all this money and you ain't got nobody to throw it to, and you got to go and depend on the water boy to help you out or the janitor. You know what I'm saying? So they have to be realistic. And I don't think the Dolphins have ever said that they don't want to take care of him. They said that he's their guy. So just make the deal make sense. And I wouldn't have a problem with a deal like that. To be truthful, which I think it's a very fair deal, if they can get something structured along those lines, because I think it satisfies it checks a lot of the boxes in terms of putting your guy right there in the mix of some of the guys that he's compared against. Hell, if Atlanta was willing to pay Kirk Cousins what they paid him, I don't know why the Dolphins would think without a shadow of a doubt that it wouldn't make sense to go ahead and lock up a 26-year-old when Kirk Cousins is 7, 8 years older than him, coming off of a significant injury. You feel me? Like quarterbacks aren't, quality quarterbacks aren't just falling out of the sky. And although I say without a shadow of a doubt that it's the most dependent position, I think when you've got one that has grown on you and you've grown on him, you make the deal. The deal has to make sense for both sides, and I believe they'll get it done. It's just a matter of how they're going to structure it. And I think when it's all said and done, it'll be something similar to that, and I'm okay with that. I think it makes sense because, how much longer he really going to play?
Yeah.
But you got him locked up. You got him locked up to damn near 2030. You know what I'm saying? With no worries about that position. And you're giving yourself flexibility to continue to go out and do things, especially after Tyreek is going to be scheduled to leave, and you're going to need somebody to fill in the void to help Waddle out, along the line, because those guys that we brought in are good, they're good guys, but you're still, I think, we can't have going to be able to continue going with a team of small receivers. So it is what it is, man. Just get it done so we can move on to something else. That'd be the least of the worries. You feel me? Because I don't want him to go out there and not. I want him to have his family taken care of so he can play free. You know what I'm saying? Play free and easy with no issues. Once players are just like anyone else, bro. Once the contract's done, they lock in better. You see? and I want him to be on his A game. I want it to be the least of his concerns, you know.
Mm.
So
So there's an interesting quote in a Jeremy Fowler article when he was going over draft notes, and it was about Patrick Paul. You know, an NFL executive said to him, and I quote, "I thought he would need a little time. Other guys ahead of him were more ready to contribute right away, but if he gets the fundamentals down, he could be a really good player, and maybe Miami's offense can find creative ways to use him." Um, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Because everyone's stressing right now that yeah, we need a safety, but we also need interior linemen. How do you look at this? Do you think they dropped the ball by not getting a tackle that could play the interior, or do you think this is smart given Teron Armstead? You know, you got a year till he's gone, so you don't really need Patrick Paul for a year. But also, Patrick Paul looks to be taking on the mentorship of Teron Armstead already, as he's been working with OL masterminds in Texas and Duke Manyweather, who's one of the best ones out there. We'll start with you, Richmond. You know, you see a player like this, 6'7", you know, the size he is, moves the way he does, a lot of holds he got away with on tape. Um, what's your view on this? Do you think people are trying to be too microwave society and Miami's actually doing the smart thing by drafting a guy that they can let groom behind one of the league's best for 1 year?
Yeah, I think it was a smart move for the Dolphins. I think a lot of times people look at one first round pick, you're supposed to come in and make an immediate impact, you know, start from day one, this and that. But if you consider the position win, like you say, we've got Teron Armstead, also got Austin Jackson. So we're set at tackle, but we know this is probably Teron's last year, at least, you know, that's what he said or whatever. But so to be able to come in and learn up under a guy like that, I think it's just valuable. I think it'll make his transition that much smoother. And then if we really think about it, we probably could use Paul for 4 or 5 games this year. If you just kind of look at the history of Teron Armstead, you know, he battles through injuries, this and that, but he does miss a few games, 4 or 5 games a year. So I think there will be opportunities where they use him in different packages or whatever and put him in and let him get a taste of, you know, playing this year, this and that. So, and I think, like you said, something happens to Teron, you have a guy that, you know, if he's already up under tutelage and this and that and learning, I don't think it'll be a hard transition. And I think it's just little things need to be cleaned up. I saw his highlights from the draft. He looked like he has really good feet, this and that. I don't think he's an interior guy because he's like 6', so he's a big man, you know, for a tall, that's a lot of range. But I think it's a smart move. And after June 1st, if we get another interior guy, it might be somebody out there that we can pick up. I don't know, but when you get an opportunity to grab a guy like that, even though you got 2 really good tackles, I think it's a smart move, especially when you know one guy's be exiting out after 1 year. So I think fans get too wrapped up in the process. And like you said, it could be microwave, but sometimes you got to think long term because, you know, this is Austin Jackson's 6th year or 5th, I think 5th or 6th year.
5th year.
So 5th year. So he's been playing 5 and, you know, he's just hit his deal. Run X's out, you know. You can have a guy to 8 to 10 years in a solid position, you know, barring injury, this and that. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So I thought it was a smart move by the Dolphins.
What do you think, Ballgame?
I don't mind taking a chance on a player if the player's measurables are off the roof. I mean, off the charts. You know, the size of this kid alone makes him what I consider a superhuman. So and have the level of athleticism that he has. I don't think with our coaching staff it was a bad move at all. I think Bush Berry's proven that he can make these guys better. He can make them names that are respectable, and I think, you know, this kid, along with the rest of these guys, are in a really good position to have his tutelage and his guidance there around them. I think this is it's a perfect scenario for him. Right? He's not really going to be asked to do a whole lot of things early on, and he can sit and get engaged and compete in practice for reps that when the game get out of hand, You know what I'm saying? After the late in the third quarter, he can go ahead and replace Teron, so Teron don't get no more issues going and get a whole quarter. That's a quarter and a half of good quality reps that are priceless because they add up. You know what I'm saying? It's the accumulation of those reps. And if we can have that flexibility for this kid, I think when it's time for him to take over, he'll be that much more prepared to do the job, and there won't be a drop off, right? I mean, you're talking about 6'7", bro. That in itself, that wingspan, that's just crazy. And any issues that he does have, I'm sure, his line coaches, they're going to be keenly looking at those to correct them. So, and that's what I believe. I believe in our coaching staff. I believe that Butch has a staff there that's unlike any other. The way that they were able to, patchwork things together last year during the injuries, man, and still be able to go out and have success, especially against that Jets game. That Jets defense is no slouch, and we were down 4 starting offensive linemen, no Tyreek, and we still whooped on them. So that in itself tells me that Butch is up night. He's earning his paycheck, and these guys are buying into what he's got going on. And if Lamb is down there in Texas already with Armstead, which is not something that Austin Jackson did until later, that just makes it that much better for me, I think, in long terms of him when the time comes for him to be ready. So
over 700 of you watching between X and YouTube right now. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new.
Is there a playoff game on tonight?
The Panthers are playing tonight. They're losing to the Bruins.
No NBA.
There is NBA on tonight. But the Heat are golfing somewhere right now. You know what I mean? They're going to be me next week sipping pina coladas on the beach. The Panthers are tied at 1-1.
Mai Tais. Get a Mai Tai.
Yeah, get a Mai Tai. There you go.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Richmond, before we get out of here.
And just good show. We're another week closer. The mini camps, OTA starting this and that. But I will be in mini camps this weekend. I will be in College Station. My young daughter graduates from college with a bachelor's. So I'm just a good mood. So everything good, bro. Ain't nothing. I'm on cloud 9. So it's all good on my end. So looking forward to next week. I'll be back on here with y'all again.
You'll be here by yourself because I'll be in Punta Canta.
Well, I will 2 weeks. 2 weeks then.
And the
DR. Final thoughts, Ballgame?
Hey, a good time of the year, man, to reflect and just be able to sit back and look at what's happening. I think this is always a real special time of the year for me because it gives me an opportunity to recharge the battery and just look at the success of this team and really go back and look at how far we've come with this whole rebuild thing and ask myself, was it really worth it? And are we, did we gain anything out of it? And I can say, yes, we did. And it just builds to the anticipation of the new season coming in and, training camp and all these things. I think, overall, man, Ross has done an amazing job of putting his money where his mouth is and building this franchise back up into one that most people don't want to see thrive. They can say what they want to say. They can say they don't fear the Dolphins, but they're looking. They're definitely watching and taking notice of what's happening down there. And people are not really liking it because they don't want the Dolphins. Just like nobody wanted to really move up and give us the options to move up into the draft. Nobody wants to give us pieces that they're gonna probably have to deal with at some point. You know what I'm saying? So, that in itself tells me that if you don't want to deal with me, that tells me that you don't want to. That if you don't want to make deals with me on that level, you don't want to. You don't want. Yeah, you're scared of me. You don't want to see me thrive. So, I'll take that all day, every day. So,
all right. I'll be back tomorrow, guys, 8 p.m. with Neil. We were originally prepped for the schedule release because it was supposed to happen tomorrow. And they pushed it back to next Wednesday. And then I will have, while I'm out of the country, I will have new content dropping for you guys on Saturday, on Monday, and on Wednesday. All right. So I still got content coming your way while I'm out of the country. All right. So it starts with tomorrow. We got me and Neil for Fin Too Deep. Make sure you join us 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. If you're a Patreon or a channel member, go check out the latest update. I talked about OBJ's deal. Also, rumblings about the Miami Dolphins sniffing around the trade market right now, and one team they've allegedly spoke to that I've heard about. So go check it all out. I appreciate all y'all. Smash that like button, subscribe for new, and as always, we will see you on the next one. Fins up, go Fins, whatever floats your boat. Appreciate all y'all.